Okay. Is it working? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about gamification. Anyone who has a cat or a dog will know that you can play with them forever, basically. You throw a ball and the dog will chase it. You take a laser pointer and the cat will jump on it. But how long can a human play before they get bored? We know that kids can play for hours, but at a certain point they turn this play into a game. And what does that mean? They add rules, they add limitations. And they do that because that way the play becomes more engaging and lasts longer. And this is basically also what we do when we turn exercise into sport. For most people, running is pretty boring, especially if you want to do this for a very long time. But if you add a ball, you add 4 poles, you put some people together and you add some rules like you cannot use your hand, all of a sudden you have a game. And we know that this game engages people much more. So basically what we do, we have a human-centric approach to solving the problems of engagement, or in this context, an employee-centric approach to solving problems of engagement. And that brings me to the definition that describes it but doesn't explain it at all. Gamification is the use of game design thinking within a non-game environment. We do that to engage people, motivate action, and solve problems. So basically what we do is we take what we know about motivation and engagement from areas like behavioral psychology and also people's irrational behavior to make people participate, individuals and teams. It takes what but before I go on and tell you more about what gamification is, let me tell you what gamification is not. Gamification is not about turning things into a full game. Don't think about a future where your employees will be playing some sort of a Farmville game while they're actually doing their work. Games are very important within the work environment, and there's a big overlap with gamification, but games are focusing on a different purpose. Gamification is also not about just adding some points and badges and putting people on a leaderboard to drive competition. Because if you think about it, for most organizations, competition is the last thing you want to incentivize, because organizations are created to bring people together and to collaborate. Competition is that company down the street whose customers you want to convince to switch teams. So gamification starts with the win-win area. We want to motivate people to do things that they would like to do, but for some reason they don't get round to doing it. And if they do these things, then the organization benefits as well. And we can think about our daily life things, like healthy living and our personal finance. We all want to be healthy and be fit and eat good food, but we also love to have that extra piece of chocolate. Or in this case, we still prefer to take the escalator when we go to the gym. And if you think about personal finance, we all know that saving money it makes a lot of sense because you might be able to buy that big apartment or even think about retirement. But we also love to buy that extra pair of shoes or that must-have gadget. So gamification is focused on motivation, and it's taking place in the real world. So what you do has real consequences. In games, we put people in a virtual world, and here we allow people to make decisions and then learn from the consequences, which include making mistakes and failure. And because if you think about it, when you play a game like Angry Birds and you make a mistake, your brain automatically starts thinking like, what did I do wrong, and what can I do better next time to improve that? But in the real world, failure has other consequences. It generates triggers like a bad feeling, stress, or humiliation. And this is why people tend to be risk-averse. And when you think about innovation and change, and this is about taking risk, but it's also about minimizing risk. And so this is one of the areas that, with gamification, we want to focus on. So gamification is not competing with games. They're business tools that serve a different purpose, and they blend very well together, just like online and offline learning. So why does gamification work? Our brains are simply wired to enjoy the experiences that games offer us. If you play a game, then our brain releases a hormone called dopamine, which is very important for the reward-motivated behavior. If a gamer is not learning, then he's not having fun. A gamer embraces challenges. They love leveling up, and they respond to changes in the game or even are the source of the change. Now imagine this for an employee. Loving to learn, tackling challenges to level up, and responding positively and proactively towards change. That's the kind of employee you want to have in a highly competitive industry. I'm sure that people have covered this topic today. An important concept within gamification is rewarding. And when we think about rewarding in the work environment, the first thing that would come up is money. Things like salary and bonus. And these are very powerful forms of rewarding, and we know that they can trigger people to do things. The carrot and the stick are the classical examples of this kind of rewarding. But more interesting for long-term engagement is intrinsic rewarding. And here you need to think about things like autonomy, purpose, and mastery. And these are tools often overlooked, poorly implemented, or they're killed by the extensive use of extrinsic rewards. You can think about a kid making a drawing. They do that because it's fun. They feed their intrinsic motivation when they do so. And when they show it to their parents, the look on the face of the parents, that's the rewarding part. Now imagine you start giving this kid candy for the drawing. Research shows that something changes then. They will stop drawing for their internal motivation, and they will switch to the extrinsic rewarding. So basically they will stop drawing for themselves, and they will start drawing for the candy. And on top of that, the quality of the work also goes down. And this can also happen in the workforce. When you design a rewarding structure that is too much focused on extrinsic rewarding, it's very difficult to keep people engaged over a longer period of time. So why is gamification relevant now? It's basically two things. On the first, there are the digital natives. And second, there's the fight against the weapons of mass distraction. An important element is the fact that the new generations, the people are brought up with games and instant feedback. It's a split between the digital natives and the digital immigrants. And although I'm not that old, I am a digital immigrant. I got online when I went to university, and that's also when I got my first phone, and it had one killer app, Snake. If we look at Generation Y, they like challenges. They want to see progression. They want to see a progressive career path, otherwise they will look for another employer. And Generation Y they should learn how to pace themselves, take the time to develop the right experiences and the right skills over time. And this is also something where gamification can help with. We can help these small, boring tasks and turn them into interesting challenges that they want to complete. Generation Y also prefers career fulfillment over pay. Another aspect is that work is boring. And the reason why we created work in this way makes a lot of sense. Introducing management concepts to structure work and improve efficiency, and makes operations cheaper and increases productivity, but it's really not engaging over the long term. And beside this, we're competing with the very engaging experiences like Facebook. So Facebook is not just distracting, but it's also setting a standard. So if you look at work, the tasks are repetitive and dull. The feedback comes once a year. Personal goals are vague. Your path to mastery is unclear, and failure is something you want to avoid. If we then look at games, we still see that the tasks might be repetitive, but they're fun. The feedback is immediate, the personal goals are clear, and also the path to mastery is clear. And failure is just one way to get to your end. And this is what we try to combine. We try to take what we know from games and apply that in the work environment so that we can motivate people to stay engaged. So the magical word is engagement. But engagement means something different from one company to another. And it's really important that you understand what engagement means for you on a company level, but also on an employee level. Like every role has a different kind of engagement that is good for them and for the company. So if you look at engagement and the workforce, then we see this engagement problem. And the engagement problem basically works like this. The guy in the front, he's giving it all he's got. The two people behind them, they're pedaling along, but they're not really doing their best. They're saving energy. And the guy in the back, he's actually slowing down the team. And this is a nice picture, but this is reality. Disengaged employees can still be, did I miss? So engaged employees feel cared about. Values and having a purpose are just as important as getting paid. And engaged employees and teams are also the ones who are driving the innovation within your company. I prefer to look at this as the engagement potential. Research has shown that only a small part of your workforce is actually engaged, which means that they're the one who are driving your company. A much bigger group, 70 to 80%, is not engaged, which means that although they do their job, they're not giving it all they've got. They are less productive and will less likely point out problems and suggest improvements or share new ideas. Disengaged employees can still be satisfied with their job, but they're just there to do their job and get paid. And they want to help themselves in their career path and get that personal win. Engaged employees are aiming for this win-win situation. They're going above and beyond, and they want to see the company progress in order to progress with it. And these are the people who suggest improvements and share the opportunities with you. And these are also the people who will promote your company within their social network, which is the topic of the next speaker. They're also the ones who are less likely to leave their job. And disengaged managers also create disengaged employees. And active disengagement is actually costing your company money. Think about increase in sick days, higher turnaround of employees, lower productivity, and if you're unlucky, even influence on a bad company culture. But gamification is not just about Generation Y. SAP is an example company that uses gamification in a lot of elements of their business. And one of the areas where they used gamification is in their community network. It's a platform where they introduced points in 2004 and badges and levels in 2009, and they iterated this process over time to increase engagement. Because gamification is not a project. You don't start it and finish it. It's something you look, it's an ongoing thing, it's a program, and you look at it and you iterate it, not just because it might not be as effective in the beginning, but also because your company will change over time. Maybe due to internal circumstances or because the industry is changing. So why does SAP use gamification? Their aim was to increase engagement and activity within this knowledge-sharing platform. And they wanted to do this in a qualitative way, which means that they were not just interested in making people log in more and leave more comments, but they wanted to encourage people to become active in a meaningful way. So SAP focused on game mechanics which makes people care about status and reputation, which translates in people being able to show what they know and how engaged they are within their domain. And they use things like levels to give people status and recognition. This way it's very clear for the individual where they are and what they can do to improve their status in a meaningful way. And it resulted in a social content creation activity, and it created feedback for the users when they were doing something meaningful for the whole community. Activity increased by 400%, and community feedback rose by almost 100%. A project that we are currently working on is related to change management. And if you have experienced ever a change management project, then you know that it's really important to engage the stakeholders. And it can be something very simple, relatively simple, from switching from a Microsoft environment to a Google Apps environment, but you really want to help each person to get engaged. It could also be something much bigger, like a merger with another company. And what we're doing is we're working on this solution to help the change management team to engage the stakeholders and communicate the changes and help each person get ready for this change. And help them to pick up the knowledge and the experience needed to be ready. And we split all these tasks into small missions and help them to complete these missions and stay engaged over a longer period of time. For example, if they need to use a new software application, then we not only would show them how that application works, but also how they're expected to use that application within their work, how their work process is impacted by this. So we use game concepts like path to mastery, badges and levels, missions and challenges, direct feedback and time limitations to get them started and to keep them going. LinkedIn is, I'm sure you are all familiar with LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a company that has embraced the design principles of gamification in a very strong way. The design of LinkedIn has helped people to get engaged with their service. And if you think about the classical progress bar, every time you log in, you want to add that one more piece of information to the site. And they also show your profile strength. So these are all these game elements that make you want to improve. And another important thing is the 500 plus connections. It shows the value of someone's network. And it's sort of similar to on Twitter, seeing how many followers people have. It starts making this internal drive to want to improve things. They even have a sort of a leaderboard where they compare your profile strength with that of others. And I'm here in the top 26%, so I'm actually happy with that because that means that about 25% of my network is actually more powerful, so they can help me with my business when needed. And if you look at it closely, at no point is LinkedIn giving me any discount or any extrinsic reward to do things. For some reason, they've designed this in a way that I want to contribute, I want to get engaged. So I hope I've been able to explain you a little bit more about the domain of gamification. It goes really wide, it covers a lot of areas. For HR, it can start with employee onboarding, education, sales, knowledge sharing, innovation, basically any place where you want to get people to participate. It's focused on change of behavior or feeding the behavior that people already are doing, so the good stuff. So if in fitness, you want to motivate people after doing something good, you want to acknowledge that, and you would say, hey, that's a good job, continue doing that. So to sum up, it's really important that you know what engagement means for you, so that you know how to recognize it, how to measure it, and then eventually how to improve that. Because if you improve engagement, then your whole workforce will become more productive, and also your company culture will increase. You will also know how to tap into the motivational drivers of your employees. And gamification will help you prepare for this changing workforce, but also help your workforce be prepared for any changes that might come. And it will make work just a little bit more fun. Thank you.